always tell my girls on my team, get comfortable with the uncomfortable, because that is what this business is about. But yeah, tried every free thing in the book until I was able to level up and invest portions of what I made back into my business and just go from there. And that's what it's all about, is exhausting the resources in front of you and then leveling up from there.
Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast, a place where top agents share the real stories behind their rise to the top of Northeast Florida real estate. This show exists to spotlight agents who live with intention, build with consistency, and serve their communities with heart. Today's guest embodies all of that and more. She grew up in Jacksonville, built her career from scratch after leaving the medical field, and now leads one of the most purpose-driven teams in the region. She's the founder of Local Roots Group, a mentor, a strategic marketer, and a woman whose business is fueled by faith, clarity, and community. This is the story of Madison Partridge. Welcome to the show.
Hello.
Formerly Madison Yates, for those out there, when she was on episode 187. Congratulations on getting married. Is marital bliss still going on? Are we good?
We're back in the thick of it.
How many months now?
We got married October 3rd, so...
Oh, okay. I thought it was a little earlier in the year. Okay.
No, October 3rd.
October 3rd. So we're working on 3 months.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. All right. I just want to put on the record, obviously met with you and Hannah and got to know you a little bit, and obviously you're showing up on my social media and I'm watching what you're doing, and really proud of what you're doing, and I'm really interested in digging in to what we talked about a little bit before pre-show, your mindset, what the business mindset. You're a young person and you're doing really well in this industry, and I think could definitely blaze trails for other young people to get into real estate as well.
Mindset, it's really just being able to jump in and try everything. That's really what I like to say. Nothing's too hard for you to try. So just being open-minded in everything that you do, and really diving in and giving it your all whenever you're doing something. Don't just do it halfway, do it all the way, and do it to the best of your ability, and make sure everybody knows that you're doing it. And and you'll be golden.
Well, you touched on several different things. I can't believe you've tried everything. Because we know that, just like as loan officers are, you as a real estate agent, there's a lot of flashy things, whatever. It's going to tell you you're going to make your life, real estate life easier if you use this and use that. But it can get overwhelming. I'm sure you've experienced that. You have to pick and choose what paths you're going to take, and obviously commit to see if it's actually going to get any results.
1,000%. Yeah. I will say, whenever I got in, it's a money-driven business, so you have to be able to have the funds to invest into your business. And I didn't have a lot of that, so I tried every free product I could under the sun, and I really used and abused whatever I could find that worked, whether it be old school methods like door knocking or holding open houses every weekend. I even got customers off of that. I got transactions off of that. It was a lot of repetition, very uncomfortable. I always tell my girls on my team, get comfortable with the uncomfortable, because that is what this business is about. But yeah, tried every free thing in the book until I was able to level up and invest portions of what I made back into my business and just go from there. And that's what it's all about, is exhausting the resources in front of you and then leveling up from there. You
mentioned something there I want to drill in a little bit to see, would you get comfortable with the uncomfortable? There's a great book by Colonel Tom Gordon I'm going to throw out there, a Citadel alumni brother. He's a Marine Colonel, and Embrace the Suck was what he put out there.
Yeah.
That's said in so many different phrases. Embrace the suck, get comfortable with the uncomfortable, by many in personal development. There's many books written on it, but they're not just guys just talking. There's obviously some great CEOs out there that have basically said some similar thing. Getting comfortable with the uncomfortable is the phrase. Is that something that you just naturally just realized you're doing, or have you done a lot of personal development and reading books and sort of that said, I that person has a lot of credibility, and I know this sucks, but this person says I should embrace it and go. How did you get into that mindset? Because as a young person, it's admirable.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I will say I think I got into that mindset by just growing up and watching my single mother kick butt, basically, the whole step of the way. She was a person that got out in front of it and used every resource to her best ability and gave us the best life that, she could. And so I kind of watched her, and I feel like I adapted to that super well. I'm the first one that went to college out of my family, full scholarship, and I wasn't taught how to do that. So I, found every resource that taught me how to get into college, how to take the SATs, what to do there. I'm very much a detail-oriented, I'm going to research it all the way before I jump into it type person. Even the same with real estate, researched everything before I got into it. I was asking questions to my mentor, and she's like, how do you even know about that stuff? You haven't even got that far, those types of things. So I think just adapting to situations is something I grew up with. And so I'm really good at being thrown into situations and being able to adapt and roll with the punches, which is what makes my active listening skills and my adaptability when it comes to clients and hard conversations, it makes it flow a lot better that way. So growing up.
Interesting. We probably talked about this in the initial episode, but since you brought up mom, when you told mom you're going into real estate, what was her reaction?
My mom has always been my biggest cheerleader, so she knew I was going to do with it what I will. She had big hopes for me. She was sad to see I was leaving the medical field, just because I researched everything. I got through college. I was literally also sending out applications while I'm taking the real estate exam. So my mind was split 50-50. But in the end, I mean, she cheered along for me, even if she didn't believe in me. So
well, because it was unknown to her too, right?
Exactly. 100%.
You're going into this unknown field. We're going to see where it goes, but she realized you were young enough to recover.
Yeah.
Should real estate not work out? Well, okay. Well, she still can go back into no real hard. And then you were single then too, so it wasn't like you had to carry other people's water too.
1,000%.
Yeah. There's a lot of questions in there because you said a lot. You actually did say a lot. You said enough, but to really open a lot of can of worms from the mindset of what was going on. You mentioned earlier about doing things and then following through with them. If I could summarize, basically doing them enough to see if they're going to bear results. Because I think we all in this ADHD world that we live in now, if a lot of people they do a Facebook post and they're like waiting for the phone to ring.
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't work. You might have to do thousands before you actually get something that you could say came from that post, right? What are some of the things that you have discovered, you have stuck with, and has bared fruit, basically gold at the end of the rainbow for you?
I will say my open houses are a really big one for me. I shine bright in personality, so if I can get you in front of me, I know I can make that connection, and I drive my business off a relationship. So that's what gets me in the door. So my open houses are definitely a big winner for me. Like I said, if I can get you in person, we're golden. So my people in my sphere, they believe in me. 65% of my business last year was my sphere.
Nice.
So they believe in me. They trust in me. I've built that trust throughout, my sphere there. Yeah, and just follow up and caring about my customers. Like, it sounds like the funniest thing, but it's not just a transaction. Actually caring about them, touching base with them, seeing how they're doing, giving them vendor recommendations, even though that you might not think about it, or they might not think about they need something or whatever. You just give them what they need and go from there. So yeah, just touching base and actually having that relationship, I think.
All right, let's talk about that mindset right there, because having all the top agents, had Sarah Schwartz on last week, and a good part of her business, and she did almost 36 million.
Amazing.
Yeah, she's been in the business twice as long as you have, and her focus has been on not only her immediate community that she lives in of 100 homes, but like you said, really taking care of the past clients, regular contact, whatever it is. When you first got in the business and people were talking about it, which I know where you first started, they followed Buffini all the, there, and they're really focused on that. Was that something you're like, oh, I wouldn't think about it. Okay. Yeah, or it was like, I already, that's natural for me. I expected to do that before I even started the business.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot more organized than what my brain could put to it.
Right.
It was smart, but I hated following systems up front. I thought they were the dumbest thing to exist. I hated a CRM. I actually just started using CRM in 2025, so that was
Well,
something
you've
new
built
to
up
me.
enough clients now that all of a sudden it's a little hard to track everybody.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, Buffini was nice. Tom Ferry is also good. I listened to his podcast and whatnot.
Well, I think a challenge that a lot of agents have, and now some will grow because they're just naturally good, but you never truly become great like Sarah Schwartz, and there's others in town that I can mention that are doing just phenomenal numbers that, are 3 times, well, I'll say the average producing agent, because I'm not going to say the average agent, because we know the average agent is not. But there's a lot of people doing the, probably 6 to 12 million. There's a lot. That group is pretty big. But when you start going over 12 to 15 million or more, you are really doing the follow-up. You're using that CRM. At least most of the ones I've talked to, they're doing something with it. You're reaching this point, but it's not, for a lot of people, it's not like, oh yeah, of course it's sales. That's what I'm going to do. They actually have to break their habits and go, hey man, I need to find a way to do some more follow-up so I can have 65% referrals.
1,000%.
Yeah.
I agree.
That they don't think about that when they actually get in the business.
Yeah.
Give me some real, for the listeners, some things that are working for you. Like, so we're on year 3? Are we in
Yeah, going
three?
into year 3.
So we're 2+ years. So we're not 3rd year anniversary, but follow up is key. What are some of the things that are working right now as far as follow up and getting especially those? I imagine you probably have some people that have referred you multiple people. Some people probably haven't referred you any yet. Hopefully they'll come around, but that's the way it rolls. What are you doing in your follow up?
Yeah, my follow up. As of right now,
On past clients, talking about past clients,
Yeah.
people that you've already serviced already.
Yeah. For those customers, I usually at the end of the year I do a Christmas ornament. Obviously, if there's other religious takeaways, we go with that. So that way, every year they put the Christmas ornament on the tree. They think of me.
Yeah, of course.
Which is the good part. And then from there, I do holiday cards. So I'll send out a holiday card. We do like CMAs every 2 years. So 2-year anniversary, they get a CMA, those types of things. We do client appreciation events. And then other things would be like pop buys. So I try to do at least 2 to 3 pop buys a year for my customers.
That's your goal.
Yeah.
25 is to touch them 2 to 3 times, go buy their actual house.
Yeah.
On client appreciation. That's a Buffini thing, isn't it?
Yes.
Brian Buffini likes to talk about that. What are you doing there?
Yeah. So
because you've only been in the business a couple of years. So what have you done from a Yeah.
In the past, we did an event at a local state park. It kept it very cheap and easy. We had Publix catered, and we just did, like, they could draw with chalk, they could play with bubbles, their kids could, and then, the parents could come, and we could all kind of meet the whole team and go from there in the past. And this year, we're planning in October to do, like, a pumpkin patch little ordeal where we invite our farms and our past clients to come to the pumpkin patch, take some pictures. We're going to hire a photographer, and we'll have all of our vendors there that we've used over the past year, so they can put face-to-face there and build those B2B relationships while we're also building on the relationships with all of our past clients and our farm as well. So.
Now, for agents who maybe don't have, a ton of closings, they're like, if I have a client appreciation, I might have 3 people there. They should team up with other agents.
I agree.
And do it as a group. Are you doing that, or you just had enough invites yourself when the first time you did it that was enough? I mean, imagine you put 20, 30 people together, families and couples. That's a good crowd.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, I say do it in numbers, even if you're not a team. You can, power numbers, even if you're at the same brokerage. I mean, you can, it's like, hey, our brokerage is putting on a past customer event, bring them in, and work your vendor relationships, you know, that way too. Have them be included in it because they were part of the transaction. They were talking to that customer at some point. I'm sure they're going to want to refi or buy another house at some point. So get your lenders involved, get your title people involved. They always want to help with education, those types of things too. So
well, you need some extra hands too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
you need some people on your side of the table to service, you know, make the sandwiches or whatever you're doing there, because it can become overwhelming. But I think, you know, you hit on it's a very good tip right there. Agents, I think a lot of agents don't, you know, leverage their vendors, their loan officers. I mean, yeah, the transaction with the inspection company, that's a few $100s, but if you're sending regular deals to a loan officer, there's thousands of dollars involved there for them to cut back a few hundred to buy some of the catering or rent a bounce house or whatever it is that they want to contribute and show up face. If you're not asking, because they are willing, you haven't asked them yet, and they'd get involved. Yeah,
exactly.
Let's start. You said open houses. Let's actually step back, because you said something, including the open. You feel that if you can get someone in front of you, that you can earn their trust to represent them when they are ready to buy or sell. So at what point did you realize that was one of your strengths?
I've always been a decent talker. So if I can get someone, I mean, probably maybe starting in high school, maybe end of high school, early college, when I started having to, you know, do college applications and really believe in myself that way. I think that was a lot. And then going through college, it kind of built up that. But yeah, I mean, even from an early start in real estate, I used to have people come through open houses. And if you know one thing more than that person coming through the door, you can really sell them that you know a lot more about real estate than you do. So that was what I took with me. And most of my open houses is like, if I could tell them one thing that the common public doesn't know about a house, I can convince them that I know more about real estate than they do, aka I'm the professional, and they will kind of help me guide, or I'll help them guide them through the process.
All right, so you started to see some wins.
Yes.
Was that your mindset before you got into real estate? It's like, how can I get in front of as many people? Or is that something you more or less kind of discovered after being in the business a little bit, like, I need to get in front of more people?
Yeah, definitely getting in front of more people. I think the most important thing for me was having everybody, and I tell people this all the time, having people on your Facebook and your Instagram see that you're doing real estate every day is important. It's your full-time job. It's not just a hobby. It's not something that you got a license for and you're just going to wave around and do one transaction a year. Posting to your stories, posting, you know, 3 times a week on your Instagram, Facebook, so that way they know, like, this is your real-time job. This is what you do all day, every day. You're invested in it. You're constantly doing education events to learn more about it, and the whole nine's there. Yeah, so just staying involved.
Right. So, because I think that is one of the biggest challenges that real estate have, the difference of being okay, maybe I'm doing a few deals or not doing any deals at all, to being really good is finding that what works for you. You clearly said earlier, putting someone in front of me so you realize, okay, I need to get on open houses, because that way people will just naturally walk in front of me. Yeah. What are you doing now that you realize this? You do a lot of open houses to create that situation where someone is in front of you. What are you doing at the open houses to, I guess, attract attention? You know, talk about what you're talking to your sellers about, hey, this is what I'm going to do at your open houses.
Yeah.
And then how do you set up the atmosphere so that it is a home court advantage for you being there and when someone comes in?
Yeah, a lot of it's about statistics. So whenever I take a listing, I tell them, hey, buckle up. First week's the most craziest week. We're going to be doing an open house that first week because it's new listing on the market. You're probably going to get the most buyers traffic through that way. And unless we do a price drop, then we'll go from there.
Right.
And then the setup is I do some open house posts either Wednesday, Thursday. I make Facebook events. I do a whole shebang there. I'll post it in some real estate feeds. I could post it to our brokerage page. I invite people on Facebook too. That's the main thing. You can't just make an event and not invite people. So I invite 500 contacts because that's what you can do to every event.
Are you strategically selecting them? And this is something I want to do that I've heard recently several times, is you're past clients in this case, for both of us, is either, creating a private page that's just, VIPs, your past customers, but also going in, because you can label everyone you're friends with, like, hey, this is family, these are friends, that kind of thing. So to make sure they are regularly and you're regularly getting their stuff that they're posting.
Yeah, there's no rhyme or reason to how I do it. I've been told that the top 500 people that show up are the people that interact with your profile the most often, aka they're your VIPs. So they're going to be most willing to share your content and do the things that need to happen. And a lot of time it is family, and they'll share it, and their audiences will see it. So I'm like, oh, even better. So yeah, I just share it to the top 500 and go from there. And then from there, the day before open house, we will go door knock the neighborhood, we being the team. We do flyers and door hangers. We knock on doors, introduce ourselves. Hey, we're inviting you to this open house that we're holding. Would love to, walk you through it.
All right, let's break that down, because this is I think this is another thing. And I remember, I think you talked about this in the original episode 187, your door knocking routine. You have an open house. What are your must-dos prior to that open house in relation to going and knocking on doors? What is your steps?
Yeah, we make an invitation flyer. We usually get a lender or title company to print them off for us, so not a charge of us. We have the door knocker bags, which are pretty cheap. We put them together. We did do popcorn at some point, but we stopped doing that because people just throw it away. So, and then we pick a time. It's usually about 30 minutes is all it takes us. We do a max of 30 houses, and that's the 30 houses that are closest to the house that's being sold, because guess what? Those people drive by that sign every day.
Yep.
And we invite them over, and the amount of neighbors that I've had come to houses because we've door knocked and, told other people about houses or about the house has been a really good turnaround. So yeah, it's just as easy as that. So
anything special on the flyer that you're...
Just the address, our invite, our faces. Always put your face on there, your contact information. Say they don't know the time and they want to give you a call, they can give you a call that way. And then if anything is special pertaining to the open house, if it's a taco fiesta open house, or if it's you're having a coffee truck, put that on there. That's extra information, and people are more likely to come if you're going to have one of those fancy things there. So,
is that something you regularly do, or just on the right occasion with the right house that you're going
that's
to...
the right occasion one.
Yeah. Yeah.
What
success, because I think that's a brilliant idea. You got a house that really is, just shows great. And especially in the neighborhoods, we know our best advocates or salespeople that we could put out are the neighbors, because they have family, friends, or whatever. They're like been telling them to move into our neighborhood because it's the best, to reach that circle. Give us a breakdown of what makes your decision of what you're going to do. Are you going to serve food or not? Especially, I imagine the very first open house, as soon as it lists, probably the most important.
It is, it is the most important. I try to not make a huge deal out of every open house I do, but I do have a really good setup. I'm not a huge fan of buying a food truck every time we do an open house, because we do them so regularly. I do 2 to 3 open houses a month, so at least 3 out of 4 weekends a month. So our setup is amazing. We have tablecloth, and then we do like personalized flyers. We have snack table, like to the nines. We do we have a speaker going in the background, and then we have flyers. We do personalized brochures for every place that we do. We have a system sheet for every house. Like, we have the information shebang going on, so that way we are prepped and ready to go. Every time somebody comes to our open house, we're like, wow, you guys really have a good setup. Like, the amount of times people see that, and that is their first impression of us. Your first impression is everything for those people coming through the door, because guess what, they probably don't have agents if they're walking through open houses, and if they do, either their agent's too busy or they're on the rocks about their agent. So if your first impression with them is good, then they might come back and do some business with you. So I've gotten clients from it as well, so it works.
Well, I think we underestimate the neighbor across the street coming in and seeing you, when in reality, especially in the newer neighborhoods here, if they're the original owners, generally when it's time for one person to move out, others are not too far behind. We know a lot of these communities, especially in St. John's, I'm sure Clay's got the same situation. a lot of the people that are in the community tend to see are within a range of the same point in life.
Mm-hmm.
And now careers moved, or obviously you do a lot of VA loans. I noticed that.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously you're working with a lot of veterans in that area. But that presentation you put out is your reputation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That neighbor comes across the street may say, oh, you listed Sally Street's house last year. I kept your card because I want you to do the same thing for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's super important to see that every time you're doing an open house. And actually, one of my listings that's under contract right now, there's a neighbor on the corner, and I ask him every time, hey, can I put a sign in your yard just because yours is like the one that's right before they might miss it.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, absolutely, girl. Like, you got it. Go ahead, put the sign in the yard. I want you to win. And I'm like, yeah, at that point, you have all the neighbors in on it. They see the traction you're getting every open house. They want you to win just as much as they want their neighbor to win. So seeing that, it's like a team effort, and that's happened actually on the past couple of houses that I have sold with open houses, is like we get really good traction, and the neighbors just want you to win as much as they want the seller to win.
When you go and knock on a door and they do answer, walk us through that, what you like, how you like. Obviously, I assume you want to control that conversation where it's leading to. What is your goal when you get done? How do you just almost, let's do a little role play of that conversation, you knocking on the door, and then obviously you accomplishing your goal in that conversation.
Yeah. I just start with, hi, my name's Madison. I'm actually selling your neighbor's house down the road. We are wanting to invite you to an open house. We're having it Saturday from 12 to 2, and we would love to see you come through to see the neighbor's layout, what they've updated in the house, all those types of things, and see what's selling on the market. Is that something you'd be interested in coming to?
Mm-hmm.
We're like, yes, no, maybe I'm busy that day. Like, oh, well, if you want a tour any other time, just give me a ring. I would love to show you through. Here's the information on everything, and we'll hope to see you Saturday.
How many of those people who do show up actually bring someone with them?
It's hit or miss. A lot of them are just nosy neighbors, and they're like, what did they do to their floor?
Well, that's cool because you want them to see your layout. So come in and be nosy if you want to.
Yeah.
Hopefully I impress you and you call me when it's time to sell your house.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But sometimes people do bring people. This past one, I just got under contract. We had two neighbors bring people, one on virtually over the phone. They brought to the open house. And the other one, they were having a Christmas party, I think, and just brought them along afterwards, the Christmas party, and came and saw us. And it was cool. I was like, wow, this is a pretty good retention. I think it's neighborhood by neighborhood, though, for sure. So.
Well, at a young age, you've realized, it sounds like to me, you've come to the conclusion, understand, you never know what's under the rock until you turn it over. Yeah. And you invite the neighbor with a whole, who knows where that could go, right? Maybe they go, oh, I need to buy this investment property. Or, ooh, I like this house better than my own. I want to buy this one and I want to move 3 doors down.
Yeah.
But when they start inviting friends and they start doing videos for friends and family, when you put all that combination together, how many rocks can I turn over? And then what's going to lead to a sale?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Opportunity is out there no matter what. So every conversation you have is another opportunity waiting to happen. So.
Now, are you necessarily marketing to, because like I said, I was looking at your loan, the deals that you had lending on, and actually you did more VA than FHA or a conventional product.
Yeah.
Is it just the area, or are you marketing in any way to the VA active duty or veterans?
My niche, now that I've gotten into almost my 3rd year, is I would love to represent first-time home buyers and VA buyers. I come from a big background of veterans, so my husband is a ex-Marine and my brother's ex-Army. My uncle's ex-Navy, like you name it, there's probably a branch that they've served. So, it's super important to me. I've seen all the hard work and dedication and the good parts of the military too, and which is, being able to get a VA loan, and I know how to work it for their favor. And I've had people walk away with checks at closing.
Yeah,
so,
100%.
It's super rewarding, and I know the ins and outs of them, as well as like first-time home buyers. A lot of my VA buyers are also first-time home buyers, so it's like helping educate them through the process is super important. And not a lot of people, educate them through every step of the process. They don't know their house inside and out. They just know that they're going to buy a house and whatnot. So yeah, that's VA.
Have you had, I mean, you're buyer heavy. You have done some listings, or just in general conversation with people looking to sell their house, because there's that old wives' tale out there of the fact that you have a lot of veteran buyers that they're afraid to list their house as being VA loan eligible because they're afraid of actually a ghost, to be honest with you, but they're afraid of some a VA appraiser or some sort of inspection that's going to discover something on their house that a veteran can't buy. Have you had people push back on you on that?
Yeah, once or twice, but it's all about educating, and we can get an inspection before we go on market too. If there's something you're scared about, it's either probably something I've seen, or an inspector can tell you what the fix for is. You want to know more ahead of time than you are caught with at the end. So
Right.
I'd rather you know before you list. Then we get to the end and you're like, oh my gosh, this is a $10,000 fix and I don't have $10,000 to give. So it's all about prepping them and educating them ahead of time and having that conversation to kind of bridge the gap of, oh my gosh, I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I find that when someone actually steps back and looks at that situation, every buyer buying a home, if they don't have the home inspected, they're foolish.
Yeah.
Whether it's a VA, FHA, 10th home, conventional product, jumbo, whatever it is, you're getting an inspection.
Yeah.
And they're going to come and tell you, hey, there's some, water damage, wood rot. Those are the things that water damage is on the VA's radar, because they don't want the veteran, and some veterans have down payments. They don't all go 100%, but if they are buying it 100%, that they're not walking in a house that's got issues with it. Because if you got 100%, probably it's because you don't have any money, and that's so things are going to be, tight right from the get-go, and they won't have to, turn around and have you do a bunch of repairs. But that same inspector that you're using for the VA buyer, you're using the same inspector for if that loan was conventional. It's the same inspector.
Yeah.
He should be pointing out the same things. Yeah. So the conventional buyer will want it fixed just as much as
The VA.
the VA.
Yeah.
No matter how much they're putting down. Now back in the day, I have not seen it recently, but back in the day when I was doing a lot of refinances when I was in the Quicken Loans / Rocket call center, if there was some minor repair and they had a lot of equity in it, refinance, and they're still got 30, 40, 50% equity, the underwriter may look at it and say, that's at most a couple $1,000. We're going to just go ahead and move along. There's no reason to wait for it to be repaired. Today, it's a little stricter.
Yeah.
If that appraiser goes out there and says, hey, I see water damage, we need to have most likely get it fixed, or a roof inspection because it looks like the roof is worn. We need someone to come and tell us what the life is, on that. So I like to put that out there to educate. VA is the best loan out there, as you have obviously realized. It's most forgiving, easiest to work with, and you have a VA streamlined. So I imagine you've got a lot of customers that are in 6-something% VA loans. Hopefully sometime this year they're going to drop their interest rate 1% and be in the 5s. And you don't need an appraisal, you don't need credit check. It could close in a couple weeks if you had to, and that's because other parties are involved. All right, we've run the gamut on that. In some of your, I might even come up with some other thoughts, because there were a lot of deep things I think you touched on. Let's talk about your primary area that you're getting most of your customers in. Is that the greater Orange Park area that you're Middleburg? Does that seem to be where a lot of your bread and butter?
Yeah, I'm trying to focus on Clay County, just because I live out there and I know it like the back of my hand now. I couldn't tell you I knew it like the back of my hand 2 years ago, but now that I've been there and I've watched it grow, oh boy, is it the place to be in. Everyone's calling it a mini St. John's, so get in while you can.
Good schools, actually. I think Clay wasn't it rated higher than St. John's? But they're both very highly rated. So Clay's got very good schools as well.
Yeah. So I want to set down roots in Clay County and really advocate for that county, because it's going through a lot of growth. A lot of people are uncomfortable with the growth, but they got to realize Jacksonville's a big place and we need places to move out. But I do cover all 7 counties still, so from Nassau all the way down to Putnam. So
well, I think the area to me is Green Cove to Palatka is the area for the next 20 years. Going out there, we know when that expressway goes across. I imagine you probably have hopefully people are getting out in front who want to invest and buy a investment property and hold on to it for the next 5 or 10 years, because you're probably going to get the most growth in that area than most places in Northeast Florida.
Absolutely. Yeah. Green Cove is booming. It's crazy. I drove through, I took the toll road actually, drove through, and you can just tell where they're planning mass communities out there. It's just growth on growth on growth on growth. And it's just going to be such a good return to the county. It's eye-opening to a lot of people that have been there for 20 years, but I mean, it's just going to reinvest back into the county, and it's going to make it that much better. So.
Green Cove at one time was nicknamed Little Detroit.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Post World War II, when the sailors were coming home, they were coming in all the way down the St. John's to, from what I understand, right, because obviously the shipyards are still there in Green Cove. That was the Navy's thing, and they were dropping the sailors off, and they were buying cars to drive home, wherever they were from. So the amount of car sales that were going through Green Cove was just nicknamed it Little Detroit. And from what I understand, what I was told was it was Lyndon B. Johnson, so we're talking mid-'60s, that gave the order to build the Shands Bridge and build it very low, which cut off any sort of larger barges and so forth going south to Palatka. I would imagine the new bridge is going to be higher.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be higher.
Yeah. I haven't seen the actual plans, but based on the ones we know going over the intercoastal waterways and so forth, they build these nice spanted bridges. So, even sailboats that have a high mast can get through there without drawbridge, because it's not going to be a drawbridge. So they're going to build it high enough. So I'm hoping that it actually opens lanes for shipping and some manufacturing going on in Palatka, hopefully, in that area. Yeah. But I think it's huge. There's a lot of older homes. There are homes that are, cinder block post-World War II homes. Just out of the blue, because in our conversation I thought is, are you seeing some investors or seeing maybe some of the homes that you've guided people to, or some of these older homes that have been refurbished, or are there older homes out there that are really ripe for refurbish and resell for a profit?
Yeah, 1,000%. I think there's pockets all over Clay County that are really good investments right now. Everybody says it. They don't build them like they used to, and that is so true. And those homes that were built in the 80s and 90s are just sitting there ready for somebody to flip them and to make that investment. And that's what I want to get into in the next 2 years, is flipping properties. So I've had my eyes peeled and watching the markets and stuff. And there's some really good builds out there. Definitely the cinder block builds. I mean, they even have some wooden homes out there that I would still invest in, because they're the bones are just so
well, if you're lucky, you might even find some multi-family or duplexes and that sort of things, which are gems if you can find them, because they don't build them anymore. I think we need to get back to building more duplexes and stuff like that. Own one side, rent the other side out, that sort of thing, to get going. You're a young person. You're working with a lot of first-time home buyers. How do you help them with their mindset? Because would you agree that a good portion of them are actually trying to buy their parents' home versus their first home?
Yeah, I think mindset's everything. So long as they're open-minded, I can work with them is the important thing. And it's a lot of coaching. We start our process with a buyer consult, which is super open. It talks about the cost of getting into a home nowadays, which, I mean, hasn't really changed. It's just the cost of the house has gone up. So explaining what, like, a standard home to get in, $250 to $300, is kind of the entry gateway home for a buyer here in Jacksonville. Understanding what it takes to get into that, but also explaining their options of, hey, there's down payment assistance available. We're in a buyer's market. I could probably get your closing costs covered. Or if you have closing costs, I could probably get you a rate buy down as well. So understanding there's different channels to get them into a home, but a house that your parents bought in the early 2000s is probably not going to look like what the house you're buying now is. But building that equity and going through the motions of everything to level up in house for the next house, you're not going to be buying your forever house right now.
Right.
That's the important conversation.
Well, because the reason why I asked that, because as we just got done talking about, I think there's a lot of that kind of housing already out there. What would be, because we're not building first-time a lot of homes that are first-time home buyers. There are some of these smaller builders, individual guys that are buying individual lots and building small single-car garage. They're really trying to cut down and make it affordable for someone to buy in there. But would you agree it's those homes at that price point have a greater advantage or greater opportunity for equity growth? It's easier for a $300,000 home over time to get to $400,000 than it is a lot of times for a $700,000 or $800,000 home to get to $900,000.
Yeah, I agree. I think I have that same conversation that I have with my team is get uncomfortable with the uncomfortable. You're not going to buy a house that has 2,000 square feet and 4 bedrooms and 2 baths. It's probably going to be the 2 or 3 bedroom house with, under 1,500 square foot. But that's way better than your apartment, and you're not paying somebody else's mortgage. So it's like you're paying into a savings account, which is it turns into your money. So
well, it's yours at the end of the rent. You could pay pretty much the equivalent in rent.
Yeah.
And when you're ready to move out, they don't give you any equity money back.
Exactly.
You just paid their mortgage, which, is paying the note for the whole complex to be built or whatever, if there still is a note.
Yeah.
Where if you're paying your mortgage, those dollars that are going in there minus the interest is equity that you're going to recoup when you go to sell the home, even if you sold it for the same price that you bought it for.
1,000%.
Yeah. So many people say, I want to get a pile of $100,000 to put on the table right there of movie prop money, of course.
Yeah.
But when people start looking at, hey, it's going to cost me $5,000. Okay, let's take $5,000 out of that $100,000 part. Do you notice the difference in the shape of this pile? No, you really don't.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people that are I call it stepping over a quarter to pick up a nickel. They're trying to get a house that they grew up with, not realizing, I think my parents were on their second or third house by the time I was born at that point, and then seeing them buy and sell homes through the years, and they've always made out really well. Great return on, but obviously a different time period that, from 1965 to today versus what today moving forward, because of obviously that's the stress of home affordability.
Yeah, hey, I tell people if I could have bought a house in kindergarten, I'd be killing it right now.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think it goes back to saying, when's the best time to buy a house? Well, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So you already missed that boat. Do you want to wait 2 more years and then look back and say, I should have bought 2 years ago?
Yeah, 1,000%.
Get involved now. What are some of the challenges for first-time home buyers right now that you're working with? What are some of their challenges that you're having to help overcome to get them in a house?
Yeah, well, I was thinking affordability is tough. I will say I feel like knowing what the cost of everything will be before you get to the closing table, I think there's an assumption of, I have $5,000, that should be good enough to buy a house. So the education part is super important, and then negotiating for their sake too. I think we're kind of in a weird market right now where sellers are kind of putting their foot down and buyers are still wanting their buyer concessions, so making that argument and
so you're seeing some pushback because maybe they lowered the price of the home, not thinking about 3% seller concessions, because that's going to be commonly asked for a first-time home buyer.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I actually just ran into that scenario this past weekend making an offer, and I just don't think the room was made there. So on the other side of it, you're having to see where the seller is coming from too, which I like to see both sides of the transaction and make it fair for both sides, but I obviously want my guy to win.
Yeah.
So
win-win for everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, you got someone who wants to sell a home, and you have someone who wants to buy it.
Yeah. But I honestly, it comes down to the negotiation piece. I think negotiating for your customer is definitely the hardest part, and you got to meet everybody where they're at. But them understanding the cost and having the cost of up front, and them not going into too much debt. Those down payment assistance programs are great, but if you don't understand that sometimes they're a second mortgage, and then you go to sell and you're like, wait, where did this $10,000 come from? That education piece gets left at the door. It's not explained to them very well a lot of the times.
Right.
And then that's just extra debt that they kind of take on.
Yeah. So you've got a first-time home buyer, veteran, FHA, doesn't matter. I mean, they have the same questions, or and obviously they only know what they know. So you're going in your third year. What are some things that you've learned, and obviously I imagine you've developed to get better and better with each sale you've done, but when you start setting the expectations, because you talk about negotiation, but if you do set expectations up front, when it comes to negotiation over an issue, it's a little easier because you prep them.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things you like to, since you do mostly buyers, we'll talk about buyers. What are some expectations that you like to, basically explain to them to be prepared for?
Yeah. Well, in our buyer consults, they're very educational and to the point. They literally dollar for dollar tell you what everything's going to be. You're going to need your 1% for your binder deposit. That's not negotiable. We can't really ask the seller for that. So you need that. What is negotiable is we're in a buyer's market, and I could probably get anywhere from 25 to 100% of your closing costs covered. Now, do I want you to have it in case we can? Absolutely. But if we're going to have to fight for it and you don't have all of it, then we're going to have to fight for it. And I'm usually game planning with the lender, at that point too. Appraisal, I tell them, hey, there's some lenders that cover that for you, especially if you're a VA. It's a very common practice for VA people to get their appraisal covered. So ask the lender if that's something that they can do for you. I kind of give them my inside knowledge too. So like working with me, you kind of get my inside knowledge and my tips and tricks and going from there. And then as far as purchase price, I'm seeing a lot of my buyers having to come up the purchase price to get the full concession amount. So prepping them for that, hey, we might not be able to get a killer deal on the price point, but you're getting $12,000.
Yeah, you're not coming out of pocket anything. And now you own a home. Your name's on ownership. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's definitely prepping the story. But if you want to get a killer deal and you have the money for closing costs, cool, let's ask for $12K off the price.
Right.
And go from there. So I kind of I make it a situation for them and kind of play it out with the way that they want to do it. But most times when people come to me, they don't have a ton of cash.
Yeah.
So we're playing with the situation of, okay, we need to ask for this.
So, great question. What things that a buyer needs to be prepared to make sure their real estate agent is aware of when they're going into this transaction? What are some of the things that obviously right now, I got a buyer, I'm going to ask them X, Y, and Z. What are those X, Y, and Z things that they need to know so when you ask them, they are prepared to give you? And I think any listener, you have to remember, this is so you could put together the best deal. You don't want to go in and not ask for closing cost and then realize your buyer doesn't have any money to pay the closing cost.
Yeah.
Or oftentimes they'll say, I'm going to put 10 or 20% down. Well, that's all the money they have. They're not bracing for the closing cost. What are some things, some discovery questions that you ask, pretty regularly for your buyers so you can start to get a picture of their situation?
Yeah, so typically even before the buyer consult, my first discovery call with them is really if they seem like they're interested, it starts to break into, okay, well, what is your credit? What do you think your credit score looks like? And I have that understanding, and if it's like a 620, okay, great. Do we have any savings going on? You have to get uncomfortable with these uncomfortable questions, but it's important for you to know. And they might be like, well, yeah, I have $2,500 in savings there. You're like, okay, we might need to work on savings just a tad.
Oh yeah, don't forget to ask where the money is, because if that $2,500 is in their mattress or under their pillow, that's not good.
Yeah, exactly. So those are two of the questions that I commonly ask before we get into the buyer consult, because from there I can talk to whichever lender they're using or lay them up to, and we can kind of come up with the plan. But I usually, from that discovery call, go into the buyer consult, kind of break everything down. They have a better understanding. Oh, it looks like I need to work on this then, because it outlines all of the numbers that they need to work on. And they're like, oh, $2,500 will only cover my binder. Okay, well then I probably need to get another, $1,200 for the inspections, and then who knows what else for closing costs.
Right.
So it kind of lines them up. That way I know where they're at, and then I can have that conversation better in the buyer consult.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of agents out there like I said, it's a difficult question, but when you actually go, hey, I'm a real estate agent. I'm a professional, and now I've been doing this a little bit. I can now ask some questions because I'm doing something with the answer to the question, and that's strategically making an offer that one is going to execute. You don't find out later, oh, I need to go back and ask for concessions now. Like, type of thing. So you can strategically offer. So you're not going to this, I'm sure the situation comes back. The seller says, no, we're not going to give you concessions because they basically have bottomed out their price. They either owe that much on it and getting here, or they figure by the time they pay for everybody, they're not going to get anything out of it. So I can't give you concessions. Well, if I if I made the offer for 5,000 more, can you give me some seller concessions? Can you cut me 5 or 3% back or whatever it is? So by being open with you is the point. In agents, you've got to get your customers to open up. And the more they tell you, the better situation and easier it's going to be for all, because you're going to show them the houses that are offering this or offering that to make sure we can get them in there and obviously get them qualified.
Yeah, 1,000%. I think clarity and honesty is super important too. Whenever you're going into it, a lot of times those conversations, if it's an online lead, that those conversations are happening when you're touring through the house. So how are we going to purchase this house? So what are we looking at? What type of loans? Those types of things. Those come out during the tour. You gotta fill it out, and you gotta be able to understand where your customer's coming in. And if they're not giving you clear answers, like I don't really know right now. Okay, they do know, but they don't trust you quite yet.
Red flag.
Yeah.
Red flag.
Exactly.
To me, anyone who is worried about their credit being pulled, not everybody, but the majority, it's because they have problems. The other just have fallen to some old wives' tales as far as mortgage lenders pulling your credit from that standpoint. The first-time home buyer getting that, and then you mentioned, I know you like to use Gary a lot, done a lot of deals with Gary. Gary's been doing it a while. He knows any of the good lenders are going to share, I would imagine, after he gets done talking to them, he's calling you back to update you and tell you whatever information he can or generalize over so that you understand what he's dealing with as far as the loan.
Yeah. He gives me the 411.
Yeah. Hey, they told me they only have $10,000, where they might have told you they had $30,000. Well, is $10,000 what is just all they want to come off of to buy this house? Is that why they're telling them that? So those type of questions go on. But
we kind of play good cop, bad cop that way. So.
Well, yeah. Sometimes you have to, especially for someone who's not being open to you.
Yeah.
Because the last thing you want to do is make an offer on a home and then have to go back and change the offer or whatever because of something they didn't tell you.
1,000%.
Like, hey, I need my closing costs covered, or I need down payment assistance, whatever it may be. Yeah. From that standpoint. All right. I've got some questions here that I brought up to hopefully create some good reels here. We're just going to fly through these and get okay, there we go. I'm changing it up. I've been doing trending questions, but these are more just, I think, could create some good reels and get people to know you and what you're doing in real estate. What is the most ridiculous thing you've ever walked into during a showing?
Oh, gosh, that's a good one.
There's some crazy answers out there. I've heard some stories of people like doing, walk into a room and they didn't realize you were there.
Yeah, not really a showing. It was more of a listing appointment.
Yeah.
I walked in and it was an interesting one.
Hoarder?
Yeah,
you have a hoarder?
It was a hoarder situation. And they're towing me through the house and their child's just like laying on the ground in a room. There's no bed or anything. They're just laying on the ground because there's just no ground to lay on. And it was just like we go out to the backyard and this lady just tells me a story about how they used to have goats and their goat committed suicide on the fence, and I was like, what is going on here? And it was like the listing appointment from hell. It was bad.
Oh my goodness.
I was like, when can I get out of here?
Yeah.
It was really bad. So that was one of the most ridiculous things, and you just have to have a straight face the whole time too, and it's like, how can you have a straight face the whole time? So yeah.
If you haven't had situations like that story right there, something crazy, you haven't been in real estate long enough.
Yeah. 1,000%.
Have you ever completely lost it, like cried, raged, or laughed hysterically because of something that happened in a deal?
Oh, absolutely. If you haven't crashed out once or twice, I don't know, like, are you real? Like, that's the real question. Yeah, I've definitely had my fair share of crash outs whenever it comes to real estate transactions. Never in front of a customer, always full composure, but afterwards, like, yeah, my husband's heard some stories. Well,
a deal going sideways. Can you remember, like, what caused the deal to go sideways and blow up and, like, really just drain you?
I'm trying to think. A customer not being truthful about stuff going on. And I fight for my customers, like, 110%.
Right.
Like, I am their biggest cheerleader. I will go to the end of you can ask anybody I've ever worked with. I do ridiculous things to get deals done. And, yeah, I just, a customer not being truthful, getting to the end, and then everything blowing up. On the other side, too, I was a listing agent, and We get to the end of the deal. We were a week out from close. Turns out they lied on their financing 110%. And I'm like, how is this even legal?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. We will find out. That's what people don't understand.
Yeah.
Especially with technology, it's getting better and better every day.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, if you are not forthright in, hey, have you had a foreclosure in the last, I mean, I don't care if it's on the credit report or not. There's other ways they find out that you've owned property and foreclosed upon.
Yeah.
You can't get around that. What's the boldest thing you've ever done to save a deal from falling apart?
Paid for floors. I paid for floors. It was a renovation loan, and the contractor that did the plumbing repair was repouring the concrete and did a really bad job because got in an altercation with the buyer, and just it ended bad. So they did a crummy job. They just wanted to get out of there, slammed it down. The floors, they couldn't put floors on. They needed to be floated, and there was comments about suing everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So the boldest thing I did was I went in there and I paid for those floors, and I made it right.
So there's a renovation loan. So technically they really bought the house already. They own the house. Mm-hmm. Your job is over.
Yeah.
You've done what you were supposed to do as a real estate agent. The lender's still working on it because they're doing the renovation and maybe doing draws or whatever it is to closing. And they call you and say, this screwy contractor screwed up the floors. And you're not obligated to do anything, but you felt obligated or felt like you needed to step in.
When I put my name out there in front or for contractors or anything, I feel obligated. Like, that's who I said you guys
So it was a referral from you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I give them 3 choices in every category. It's who they chose.
Do you refer that person anymore?
No. I do not. They are simply off my list. I know that. But yeah, I gave them 3 options. They were one of the options. And yeah, I just felt like it was my fault. And so I made it right. And now they are good old customers. So they still like me. So.
I bet they do. I mean, well, they should.
Yeah.
And hopefully they're looking to try to refer you somebody to make up that loss that you had as far as covering the flooring.
Hope so.
What's one dumb mistake you made early in real estate that still makes you cringe today?
My first deal, I believed that everything was good and we were smooth sailing. I got really lucky. My first transaction was like a multiple offer transaction. I was the listing agent, and smooth sailing, thought everything was good. We got a week out from close, and turns out that a dock wasn't permitted on their side, so they had to go back through and do a permitting dock, which takes months, by the way. And so just believing that everything was smooth sailing after we got a contract executed. That was
so you learned to do your due diligence, and that's very important.
Yeah.
Because I think that what leads me, and the thought that leads me, is there's this discussion over surveys, and that now a lot of times the title company will order a survey if there isn't a recent one done, and there's some companies that are collecting because they won't, where there's other title companies will just roll the dice on it that it's just going to close, and they'll charge them for it on the closing disclosure and so forth. So going back and forth, but how important it is, I think, that every agent makes sure, I don't care if they're paying cash and the lender's not involved. Obviously, there's a lender involved doing a loan process. We need the title to tell us, hey, there's a recent survey and they're good with it, that are letting people buy homes without a good survey on what they're actually buying.
Yeah. 100%. Due diligence is so important.
Because that's one of those things, like the unpermitted dock, all of a sudden they go in there and they buy the house, and then they realize their fence is on someone else's property, or this other property, or the other guy's fence is on their property, or let alone they had a pool put in and they didn't put it in, and the easement, setback, all that kind of things that need to be approved.
Yeah.
Part of the permitting.
Crazy.
Yeah. And the survey would obviously disclose that. So that's a good one there. Tell me the wildest, most unpredictable showing or open house you have ever had.
Let's see. Wildest showing. I had a first-time home buyer. This is actually recently. I had a first-time home buyer, and we were showing homes, and I walked in, and there was people living in the house, and it was supposed to be a vacant house. Yeah, we had some people just hanging
Squatters?
out there. Oh yeah, squatters, and they told me they lived there, and I'm so sorry. Like, no, you can't tour the house. We're living here. What the heck? Yeah, they were squatters, and we didn't go in, obviously. But I was like, I don't know what's going on. So I called the listing agent. She's like, nobody's supposed to be there, and so the cops had to get called and everything. We were out of there. We didn't stay. We were like, what is going on? So squatters are real.
Yeah, squatters are real. That's a good one.
Yeah.
So, as we know, Florida is more aggressive, we'll say, with the police and taking care of squatters.
Mm-hmm.
In some states, they're not so friendly.
Mm.
And I saw online this guy who actually you can hire him if you've got squatters in there, and obviously because your state laws or whatever, they're very, laid back on getting squatters out of there.
Yeah.
This guy will sign a lease with you, show up and move into this house with the squatters.
Oh my
And
gosh.
he will be the craziest roommate that he could possibly be and get them out of there.
I need that guy's number.
Yeah. From doing stuff in the bathroom and stuff, nasty things, just to drive his roommates crazy.
Oh my
So that they
God.
won't eat their food, whatever it is. Yeah.
That's amazing.
So he comes the crazy roommate. Let's see this last question. I didn't proof it, but when was the first time you felt like a real leader and not just an agent hustling for the next deal?
Oh, that's a good one.
That is a good one.
Yeah, I feel like I had a lot of self-doubt early last year because that was my first full-time year in real estate. And I think once momentum started picking up and I finally realized that good things come to good people, and if you're doing all the right things, it'll come to you. And it's so true. I don't care that it sounds woo-woo or anything like that. It is so true. Or like mid last year was really when I felt like, okay, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I'm doing all the right things. Things are coming to me.
Phones ringing.
People are noticing. And I'm like, that was the biggest thing, because people noticing. I'm like, oh, they see me doing all this? Like,
Yeah.
are you sure? Like, okay.
Yeah.
So,
Imposter syndrome.
yeah, 100%. I'm like, oh, okay, I thought this was what you're supposed to do. So, yeah, that early, like mid last year. Yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, people who are working the 9-to-5 job and they're like, hey, in 3 months, I'll be walking in here and sitting down at the same desk at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
They've got that regiment, and all the power to you. There's jobs that require that, and there are people that excel at that.
Mm-hmm.
But in our business, we're only as good as the last deal or the last month, and the game starts over again. And you've got to be doing stuff 90, 120 days, and hopefully, the deals that are closing right now are stuff you were working in September, October, November to bear fruit now. And they don't understand, but you've got such a momentum, and obviously you're referral based. You're holding on and coddling those past buyers to get the next referral, which is the greatest compliment. And now you're busy now. You always got 3 or 4 deals in the hopper, it sounds like. Yeah. You're either working with somebody or you got a listing or two and that sort of thing, knowing that those are going to bear fruit in hopefully a short period of time.
Yeah, 100%.
Why do you love real estate?
I always knew I wanted to do something that I can make my own, and I can write my own rules, and I can do it the way that I fully believe in. And I did not think that was going to be the business that this was going to be when I first started. I fully thought it was HGTV, and I was going to sell houses like that. But it is truly something I can make my own. I can write my own rules. I can do it the way I want to do it. I can advocate the way that I want to do it. Like I said, I go above and beyond for every customer, whether they're family or not. I treat them like family. And that is something that I pride myself in, is that I run my business, the way I would if it was my brother and sister buying a house.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Do you find it interesting, and agents have to learn to keep their personal things like I'd never live over here, or I would never buy a house like that there are people who like that. Everyone has a different preference. That you've shown houses and you're like, I'd never buy this house, but hey, we want to make an offer. Okay. And that different strokes for different folks.
Yeah. 100%.
Right? Has that amazed you sometimes in some of the clients that you've had?
Yeah, it does. I will say I'm really good at active listening though, and I can hear why they love what they love.
Right.
And if they can tell me like 3 solid reasons why that's the house for them, then I'll believe them until the day they die. But I've had houses where it's like, why do you love this house? And it just feels like the one isn't a good answer.
Yeah.
I need you to give me 3 good ones.
Yeah.
And then I'll believe you. But active listening is definitely.
Well, because you're honest and authentic.
Yeah.
And we believe this is a one, and you and I know it could be because they just looked at so many other houses, are frustrated or whatever going on in life. They got a short fuse, and now they're just going to settle on a house only to be miserable. When you have the confidence to say, you know what, you sure you want this one? Or let's wait till next week, see some others that are going to come on the market, because I don't think you're sold. And I do believe, I've been in the business long enough, deals fall through for different reasons. And many times, many people have made an offer on a home, maybe they had the inspection or whatever, and it's fallen through, and they realize it's the next house is actually the one, and they're like, wow, if we went through that deal and knew this was going, we'd be miserable. Yeah. And they happen for reasons.
Yeah.
That's basically what I was getting to.
Yeah. That's 1,000%. Everything happens for a reason. I agree with that. It's just like, the people in like 9/11, people say like people didn't wake up to their alarm clocks that day because they weren't supposed to be there, and they were supposed to. 1,000% it happens with houses too. Like they're, if something falls apart, or say you just have a difficult buyer and they're taking forever to pick a house, there's a reason. Maybe there's a reason you're supposed to get to know that person a little bit more. Maybe they're going through a hard, rough patch and they really need someone to lean on, and you're that person.
Right. There's
always a good side of things to look at, and if you focus on the positive, there's going to be a lot less negative in your life. So 100%.
Way to close out. Anything like to add?
I don't think so.
It was a great show. Yeah. We had some good stuff in there. Awesome. I appreciate you coming on, and we'll continue to follow your success. I'm just really happy for you.
Thank you.
Thank you
for having me.
This may be it for today's episode of Real Estate Excellence, but we both know your pursuit of excellence doesn't stop here. To connect with the best of the best and really take your skills to the next level, join our community by visiting TracyHayesPodcast.com, where you'll meet more like-minded individuals looking to expand their inner circle and their personal experience. That's available at TracyHayesPodcast.com.